Hi, these are readings and commentary with Insane Sam. These are readings from history, philosophy, poetry, literature, just anything in the written word that I like that I think you might like. Today's reading's a little different. It's something I wrote myself, and it's an odd combination of things. I wrote it on the 75th anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy invasion. And I wrote it about a week and a half after I'd been to the Indianapolis 500 with my friends Ron and Lori Tranberg. And being at the race made me think about D-Day in a special way, and that's what I put down in this little article I wrote. I hope you like it. These are excerpts. The regular article is a little too long. It's called Respecting Our Heroes at the Greatest Spectacle in Racing. So here we go. In the pre-dawn hours 75 years ago today, 20,000 paratroopers, primarily from the United States Elite 2nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, parachuted into heavily defended German territory behind the 5 beaches on France's Normandy coast, codenamed Utah, Omaha, Sword, Gold, and Juno. It was H hour of D-Day. Their mission was to capture German artillery positions that could be used against the 165,000 soldiers who 3 hours later would embark from over 6,000 ships to charge those beaches to begin the inland invasion of France with the object of defeating the German army during the Second World War. With a few special exceptions, none of the soldiers who participated in the Normandy invasion had been in combat before. Casualties were predicted to be as high as 50%, and the Allied commanders believed that experienced combat veterans would refuse to make the attack. Of course, D-Day was a success. Paris would be liberated 80 days later, Hitler would be dead, and the German army defeated in less than a year. The day before my brother Ted's 19th birthday, he was home in Connecticut after completing Army basic training. He ran into our father's law partner, Chester DeZallo, who saw from the insignia on Ted's uniform that Ted was in the same infantry division in which Mr. DeZallo had served during World War II. Mr. DeZallo took Ted to lunch, and conversation naturally led to military matters. Ted knew Mr. DeZallo had won a Silver Star on D-Day, and Ted was hoping to hear the story. Here's the story Mr. DeZallo told. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, 17-year-old Chester DeZallo and his best friend dropped out of high school and enlisted in the Army together. They were sent to basic training at different locations, and they lost track of each other. Mr. DeZallo was on Utah Beach on D-Day. While under heavy enemy fire, he jumped into an artillery shell crater and landed on top of a GI he presumed to be dead. The GI was alive, and it turned out to be the friend with whom he had enlisted. They spoke for a few minutes until a sergeant came by and ordered them to move up. They did. Mr. DeZallo did not see his friend again till after the war. Ted asked Mr. DeZallo about the Silver Star. Tears immediately welled in his eyes, and soon the tears were running down his cheeks. He told Ted that the citation he received, along with the medal, stated that the award was being given due to conspicuous bravery in the face of enemy fire. He said he'd not been brave that day. He'd been scared shitless. This was the only time that anyone in our family had ever heard Mr. DeZallo use profanity. He told Ted that he had long thought he should return the medal and citation because he felt like a fraud for having received them. Ted told Mr. DeZallo that he didn't think anybody would begrudge his keeping that medal, and Mr. DeZallo replied, "Well, then that's okay." Mr. DeZallo never told Ted what he had done to earn that medal. Chester DeZallo and hundreds of thousands of young men like him from the United States, England, France, Canada, Australia, and the other 15 countries comprising the Allied forces in World War II saved the world from a tyranny that would be unimaginable absent the manifest evil witnessed upon the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps. My reverence for these brave young men always has been so profound I have difficulty discussing them in an even voice. I must resort to writing. On the Sunday Memorial Day weekend each year, over 300,000 people from the heartland of America assemble at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to watch the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. The race is a genuine Middle America event. Although there's plenty of rowdiness, by and large, the fans are well-dressed and well-behaved. By the end of the race, they're also well-oiled. This year I rode my motorcycle over 1,200 miles from Houston to Indianapolis for the race. We went into the Speedway at 11:30 to watch the pre-race festivities. They had a bunch of old race cars parade around the track, including a car driven by Mario Andretti, who was celebrating the 50th anniversary of his only Indy 500 win. When the start time was getting close, the track announcer asked all the armed services veterans to stand and receive a round of applause. Then the announcer asked the crowd to stand in silence while taps was played. Over 300,000 fans were perfectly silent. Most had their hats off and their hands over their hearts. It was so moving a moment that tears came to the eyes of many, including me. When taps was completed, we were asked to remain standing while God Bless America and America the Beautiful were sung. Then finally the Star-Spangled Banner. Everyone continued to remain silent during all this. A flyover of jets was timed to streak over the Speedway at the end of the anthem, and that brought a roar from the crowd. One of the jets came back after the flyover and circled the interior of the Speedway at low altitude, then darted straight up and kept going until it was out of sight. The fans went nuts. The race started a few minutes later. Our current president tells us he wants to make America great again. His opponents tell us America was never all that great to begin with. Academics tell us that America is infected by an inherent original sin arising out of the racism of our founding fathers, all of whom were old white men. Politicians from Washington, D.C. patronize Americans in the flyover country between the East and West Coasts as ignorant deplorables clinging to their guns and Bibles. All these attitudes are bolstered by the mainstream media. The 75th anniversary of the Normandy invasion is an especially appropriate time to consider these attitudes, and the long-term outcome is far from certain. High schools and colleges did not teach much about World War II. Instead, most of what students are taught about our heritage comes from academics who protested against America's patriotic traditions during the Vietnam era. Our media largely comes from and promotes the same anti-American Vietnam era attitudes. In the face of all this, it's not hard to wonder whether today's youth would defend our country from outside attack in the same way that the greatest generation rose to the occasion during World War II. But there's much about which to be optimistic. Today, Vietnam veterans receive the respect they earned but were denied when they served our country. Productions like the Band of Brothers and institutions like the D-Day Museum in New Orleans preserve a record of the brave Americans who served in World War II, and at the same time promote the American exceptionalism that was assumed to exist just a couple of generations ago. Unlike during the Vietnam era, we now have an all-volunteer military. It is the best equipped and best trained military in the world. Civilians who encounter soldiers now routinely thank them for their service. Perhaps most encouraging is the love of country emanating from Middle America. If you want to experience genuine pride in America, go to the Indianapolis 500. Go to any sporting event, any concert or county fair in the heartland, and you'll have the same experience I had at this year's race. Screw the elites who disparage our country. The United States of America is the greatest country in the history of the world, and we live in the best time in history to live here. The 75th anniversary of D-Day is a perfect time to thank all who served to keep us free. So, to our veterans, thank you and God bless America. I hope you enjoyed that. I had a good time writing it, and really, go to the heartland. See what this country's really like. It will restore your faith in our country. So that's today's reading. Do me a favor, press the subscribe button and subscribe to the station right now. Get your friends to subscribe. And with that, Insane Sam out.